All right, peace and blessings, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Author Spotlight here for Self-Publishing 30 Days. I serve as your host, Rob YB Youngblood, President of Sales, and I have the pleasure of having James Harris with me. James is the author of Men to Heal, and he's going to talk a lot about his book and himself, and we want to get him to just share what prompted him to get started. But before we get into that, before we started recording, I talked a little bit about that collection that you got on the background, man. It'd be hard to just like not see it. And for those who are watching, I know some of you may be listening on the podcast, but for those of you who are watching, this is not like some type of screen altar. You know what I'm saying? These are my guy's shoes. So James, tell us what are we looking like in the background, man? What's that all about?
Hey man, first look, let me appreciate you and say thank you for having me. And then secondly, kudos to you for having a platform to spotlight authors, man. It's good that you're doing that. So I appreciate you for having me, extending the invitation to get me on here. Secondly, the book is Man, Just Express Yourself. Men to Heal is the movement.
Got it. Okay.
But I'm sure we'll get into that. But as far as the shoes, man, I mean, I'm 35 years old, but my shoe size has been the same since I was like in high school. So most of these shoes are old. Some of the foams are new. I get the foams when they come out. But as far as the Jordans and the Forces and stuff like that, you know, they pretty much stay in rotation because they always bring it back out the same ones. But yeah, man, I just like shoes, and I donate a lot of shoes as well. This is just one side. Like the other wall is full, and then the other back wall got boots, dress shoes, and stuff on it. So, just like to collect.
Man, I love it, man. I love it. And so, man, express yourself. And you said Men to Heal is the movement. Tell us about the movement. Where did that come from? And I'm sure it'll give us an opportunity to hear a little bit about your background as well, because that ties in with the movement. Am I correct?
Sure. So, first of all, I'm a father, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm a therapist right here in the city of Richmond. So, being an entrepreneur, mindset just was turning and doing different things, but also wanting to give back in a different way. Becoming a therapist was part of that. So when I was young, I was a ward of the state, and therapy was mandatory at that point, just weekly sessions. And for me, I didn't obtain as much as I could because it was so unrelatable. I'm this young Black kid from the projects, and most of the therapists was older white people, so it was a disconnect. Fast forward, joined the army, did 8 years, 2 deployments, one Iraq, one Afghanistan, and the same thing happened. I knew I was different, wanted to try therapy again. It was a disconnect. It just wasn't a pleasant experience because now these people didn't have the combat experience. That it was just so unrelatable, and that's a reason why a lot of veterans tend to go to the groups opposed to individual therapy. So for me, I was like, oh man, I got to bridge this gap. This might be something that I have to do. So got my pause entrepreneurship, restaurants, art galleries, houses, real estate, just doing a lot of different stuff. I paused that, went back, got my bachelor's in psychology, then I got my master's in clinical mental health counseling, then I started my licensure journey here in Virginia. And then I founded a movement called Men to Heal because a lot of men are reluctant to seek services, not only just on the mental health side, but of course the physical side, such as early detection, getting physicals early, every year, not going to the doctor unless they're bleeding or something's about to fall off or some, so this Men to Heal was a way to encourage men to seek services, go talk to somebody if you're feeling like you are going through some emotional, mentally, or physically, so it definitely has put the spotlight on getting physicals, early detection as far as cancer, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease is #1 killer among African-American men. So, just doing different seminars and panels and stuff like that. And then of course, a lot of women, they advocate for their husbands or for their young sons, to encourage them to talk to somebody, or why is he not talking to me, or how do I respond when my partner does this, so it just was a way to highlight those things. So pre-COVID I was doing sessions in my art gallery every quarter, different topics related to men and mental health, but of course since COVID I had to get creative. So I started a YouTube channel and that took off, man. It's monetized now, or in that phase of being monetized. So, just posting different videos to help people throughout the world. Because of course with the movement it's grown. Like a lot of people send messages, inbox, and that's how the YouTube channel started. And then the book came before that, Man, Just Express Yourself, which is an interactive planner guide for boys and men to express themselves. So it's in Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Target, Walmart, pretty much anywhere books are sold. And this was some similar. So different things and topics that I was talking about in session with my clients, men, husbands, teenage boys, that collection along with inbox questions or emails that I was getting from different people, I was like, oh man, instead of just giving it, replying one by one, let me just put it out there for everybody to get. And that's what happened. And it just was received well. So the book itself, so when you first open it, it got the dates, right? So if you got this teen son, he can look back a couple years. It got today's date, 1 year review, 3 year review, 5 year review. So this male you can give this book to your teen son or your husband or whatever. They can see how much progress they've made. Are they still triggered by the same things? Do they still need to work on certain areas here? So I was just fortunate to be able to do that because I know that's something that I do in session. All right, cool. This is, first day in session, whatever the case is. Let's, chart progress.
Right.
So make the goals measurable, obtainable, and things like that. So we look back 3 months from now, like, all right, cool. When you first came here, you was triggered by XYZ, or you did this 5 times. Now you reduced it to, so it was a good gauging method. So I put that in here. And then as far as the topics, I just wanted to touch on several different topics that men typically don't talk about unless they're in the barbershop or the mechanic shop or just, with the boys and stuff like that. But these are answers too that women need, for their sons, for their partners. So it just grew from there. And some of the topics are, of course, affirmation, goals, trauma, mood, displacement, abandonment, grief, substance use, coping skills, emotions, feelings, tough love, communication, conflict, stress, resilience, manhood, masculinity, rape culture, triggers, man cave, happiness, attachment, just so many different topics. And of course, one of the benefits of the book is not only can you write out your answer, you can draw out your answer.
Right.
So this is something else I do in therapy as well as part of this narrative therapy, because of course, like verbally, a lot of people aren't in a position to articulate what they want to say.
Right.
And specifically with men, like a different emotions manifest themselves into violence, rage, or reckless behavior, being promiscuous and stuff like that. But a lot of people now are able to journal their feelings or draw, and we pretty much can dissect those strips into, what's taking place, so that has been a benefit of the book. And I'm just gracious, man. This one lady wrote a review. She's been married 45 years, and that's the most her and her husband ever processed. So I've just been fortunate for testimonies like that, because just encouraging wives to purchase this book, highlight a couple chapters, give it to your partner, and you guys do it over date night or dinner, and that way it doesn't feel like a chore to him. It feels like something to enhance your relationship. So it's been so beneficial to the people, and I'm just happy it's been received as such.
Man, listen, that is so rich, man. I mean, you've given us like just a tremendous resource. And for those of you, obviously we're recording this and this goes up on our YouTube channel, but for those of you who are listening to this on the podcast, James basically shared with us the different breakdowns of his book. I mean, just the different topics to be able to have conversations about, man. So let's talk a little bit about, let's back up just a little bit, right? So
okay,
you were in business, you had different ventures, you paused that to pursue education so that you can accomplish this goal. I think that's tremendous, and there's a high level of discipline that I'm sure came from your past in terms of what you've done in the military, in terms of just overcoming life challenges and being awarded a state. But let's talk a little bit about just the title of the movement. All right, so you've got your shirt. All right, and like I said, we got some people that may not have the benefit of watching. They're gonna be able to hear it. But break down your T-shirt, man, because I had the opportunity to grab a shirt. Wasn't able to find it this morning, but I was blessed to be able to support your movement. But when I said men to heal, some people might think it's men and then the number 2, but break it down because it's a little play on words. Break down your movement in terms of how it's promoted via your shirt, and what was the mindset or concept behind that.
Yeah. So appreciate you for recognizing that, and also appreciate you for being early on the shirts, man. I believe you got yours maybe 2-3 years ago when it was first starting. So I founded the movement in 2018 after completing grad school. I started at this private practice called Lavelle Outpatient Counseling right here in Richmond. Phenomenal practice. 2 women owned the practice, Tangi Moore and Dr. B. I was the only male there for pretty much my a significant part of their existence towards the end. And for me, they do phenomenal work in community. They host women retreats. They host women take your cape off. They just got so many different things for women. And me being a male there, knowing like, oh man, like what can we do for the male? So I will always tease the owners about that. And then it was like, yo, just put something together. We'll figure it out. So I reverted back to an assignment that I had in grad school. And I'm sure if you're a therapist out there listening, you probably had this assignment too. Um, if it's one population that you can work with, who would it be? Right. So a lot of my cohort, they chose women's rights, they chose sex workers, veterans, LGBTQ, so originally, of course, me as well, I chose veterans. And then I was pondering, of course, foster care system. And then I was like, oh man, what about men? Because men are so absent, not only within the field of therapy, but of course, seeking services, so I took that on as a project. Fast forward, I graduated, started the private practice journey, and I just reverted back to that. So that's when that happened. So if you're from Richmond, right there on Broad Rock and by the VA, by the Veterans Hospital,
Yep.
is
South
the
side.
train.
We talk about South Side here. For those who are not from Richmond, Broad Rock is on the South Side of Richmond, and we both represent South Side. So and we live close by to where you used to practice. But yeah, Broad Rock. Where about on Broad Rock?
By the VA hospital.
Okay.
So I got caught at a train, right? And I was just sitting there. And for those of you, so I got a Tesla and it has a huge screen in there and you can take notes, you can doodle, whatever. So I'm stuck at a train and I just started doodling because I know like, all right, cool. If I want to start this movement, if I want to start doing these sessions in the community for men, I need to, brand it, get their attention going and things like that. So I just started doodling. And I came up with this logo. So the word mental, MENTAL, I crossed out the TAL and put TO under it. And then for health, I, pretty much underlined heal in health. And that was the logo. So I took a picture, sent it to Don Cherry, local cherry on top tees. And I started wearing it for myself. And before I know it, just walking around the neighborhood, and I started the sessions within the community, and people just like, oh man, hey, how can I get it? So before I knew it, I had over 1,000 sold just like that because it was an attention starter. Yeah. And me, entrepreneur minded, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna continue to monetize it. I'm gonna trademark it. I'm gonna do everything I need to do to legalize it. And it just continued to grow. So celebrities and athletes and entertainers was reaching out like, oh man, that's dope. I appreciate what you're doing. Yeah. And people started buying it because like just walking down the street, like, oh man, my uncle was going through XYZ. Let me get a shirt. Or, oh, you know what? My dad is da 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 da. Let me get a shirt. Yeah. Or just, men just was on some, oh man, I've been looking for somebody to talk to. I'm glad, so I could, so it just started as a relatable context, and people just was gravitating to it. So that's how that shirt journey began.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. And I purchased this shirt, number one, to support, man. I value. I think I remember when we had the conversation, right? AJ and his son, they had done like 500,000 miles bike ride. You know what I'm saying? I'm being funny on the 500,000, but it was a long trip. They rode from Williamsburg.
50 miles.
Yeah, 50 miles. They rode from Williamsburg to Richmond. Right here in Blackwell, Southside Richmond, and you and I were having a conversation, and you was just telling me about the movement, man. I said, listen, let me support. But then when I put it on and I took a picture and I walk around with it, it speaks to you know, even my journey, man, even in my situation, man. I don't know if you remember me telling you this, but you know, at the end of 2015, man, I had a mental health crisis where I was on the verge of suicide. You know what I'm saying? Like I literally went to a sports bar. I was about to drink my way to death, right? Like drink as much as I could, get in my car, and then, you know, hey, whatever happened, happened. But prayerfully, you know, I had some brothers come in and help me not go that deep, you know what I'm saying? But I did seek counseling. So, I mean, I have my own personal story and I rock with the brand because it gives me an opportunity to minister to people and tell them my story so that people don't think, oh man, you know, YB must be perfect. James must be perfect. Nah, bro, we got some brokenness on the inside of us. And so I appreciate you sharing on that movement. Tell everyone, how can folks get connected to the movement? I know you talked about YouTube, so definitely want you to promote your channel so people can support that. But how can people support the movement? How can they get their hands on the book? How can they get their hands on the shirt? Tell everybody how they can support you as it pertains to your movement and your book.
Yeah. Nah, I first want to recognize, man, I'm glad that you are on your journey to recovery and, you know, being resilient and doing the work.
Mhm.
Something I often say in session and in the community or when I'm speaking, I've been fortunate enough to speak in 5 different countries,
Mhm.
and of course a host of different states domestically. So the word is growing. You just do the work. But something I often say is feel your feelings, because oftentimes men only feel those negative ones. But
Mhm.
you know, so we just got to continue to grow. We got to continue to evolve and continue to support each other in allyship. And I'm glad you was able to have some guys around you to hold you accountable and
Mhm.
get you the assistance that you need, you know, because there could have been a different situation
Right.
for your family, you know, and of course for the other people that you would have put at risk if you would have further, you know,
Yeah.
continue to drink, drive, and
Yeah.
other things.
Yeah.
But I'm glad, man, to see where you are now. So for the people out there who want to connect with me, whether it's for therapy referral or purchase the book or shirt or YouTube or, you know, social media, the easiest way would be to go to my website, www.mentoheal.com, www.mentoheal.com. And
Mhm.
from there, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can catch me on social media. Instagram is men_TO_HEAL. Facebook is Men to Heal. And you also can purchase the book. The book link on there is a link to purchase the book and a link to the ebook. But of course, you can get the book at Barnes and Nobles, Target, Walmart, Amazon, pretty much anywhere books are sold. But of course, when you purchase it on the site, I get a bigger piece of the pie.
Yeah, that's what we promote, James, because you know, here at Self Published in 30 Days, man, you know, we focus on developing self-published authors. And so while we appreciate those other outlets, we promote the B squared method, right? So it's book to business. And for our authors that we work with, we encourage them to go the route of setting up their own, you know, links so people can support them directly and so that they can capture the information of who's buying the book, right? Because if you go those other routes, I know specifically Amazon doesn't do it, but you know, there's other places they may not give you a listing of who has purchased, but you know, to be able to have folks get it directly from you. So we highly recommend, as you're listening, as you're watching, to support, go directly to, you know, the Men to Heal site, support James directly. And I have a feeling like we're going to see you again, because I think it's so much to be able to tackle with mental health, specifically men's mental health. I love the fact that you shifted from just focusing on veterans, which is still important in and of itself, to highlighting men, because you know men have this macho demeanor that we feel like we don't really need any help, but in actuality, we probably some of the biggest teddy bears out there, man, that we need some love, especially from other brothers, man. So we appreciate you for coming on and sharing your insight, your wisdom. You know, the fact that you're from Richmond, bro. Like, listen, like I think you're the very first guest that I've had on the show. You won't be the last. That's from Richmond. And for those of you who don't know, I reside and operate out of Richmond, Virginia. So we want to definitely show Richmond some love. And we value, man. Any last words you want to share with our audience as it pertains to your book or your movement or anything else that's on your heart?
Yeah. Again, I appreciate you for having me. Good experience. Like I said, I speak all over the country, and I do different things. So I'm just fortunate enough to be in a position to where I am. And I want to say to anybody out there who's thinking about writing a book or thinking about telling that story, you definitely want to do it. Ignore the perception of others, because if you live in somebody else's reality, you're gonna be stuck. You're gonna be thinking, what if? You're gonna be holding yourself back. So just do the work, figure out what that means to you. And again, if you want to connect with me, if you got a question, if you got a comment about something, if you need a resource, there's a resource link on my page for suicide hotline, crisis hotline, sexual abuse hotline, pretty much anything that you need as far as mental health, not just specifically to men, but anything related. Wives, if you got questions about your husband, email them to me and we'll help you find a resource, or if I can answer the question, I will. But the book itself, of course, is a good tool to not replace therapy, but to give insight on some things, to hope that this man boy will want to explore different options and try to grow and enhance his knowledge in a different way, opposed to like RB was saying, as far as his substance use or the reckless behavior, those things that could have took him out. So we want to ensure that we are knowing our triggers, we are able to identify certain things, and we can do different methods to get different results. So that's pretty much it.
Man, thank you so much, James, for just coming through and shining that light on a much needed, just a topic that's needed to be talked about, especially in our communities. And as you're watching, listen, we're going to provide some more information on how to get connected to James, but we'll also share that crisis hotline. If you know anyone that's dealing with a mental health situation, even yourself, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? It is okay to seek out help. I'm your host, Rob YB Youngblood, President of Sales for Self-Publishing 30 Days. This is the year for your new book. And remember, when you put your book out, you never know, it will impact lives far beyond your reach. But if you don't put it out, it won't impact anyone. Be encouraged, be blessed. Most of all, continue to share the faith by walking in your gift. And this is the year for your new book. Peace.